What if I tell you that the swearing in of Bola Ahmed Tinubu might not take place? What if I tell you that Bola Ahmed Tinubu might not be sworn in on the 29th of May 2023? What if I tell you that the planned inauguration for 29th of May 2023 might be cancelled?
Federal High Court in Abuja has fixed May 18 to hear the lawsuit seeking to stop the inauguration of President-elect Bola Tinubu. The plaintiffs, known as registered voters of the Federal Capital Territory, are asking the court to determine whether any candidate in the presidential election may be validly declared elected and sworn in if as president without obtaining at least 25% of the vote cast. They also want the court to determine whether it can stop the swearing in of any individual on May 29 or on any other date until issues raised in the suit have been adjudicated.
So guys, there have been calls for the court to stop the swearing in of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the incoming president. You may not know that so many people are against Bola Ahmed Tinubu being sworn in, as our next president. It might interest you to know that the residents of Abuja have gone to court, asking the court to stop the swearing in of Bola Ahmed Tinubu as the incoming president. They are insisting that he must win the 25% for Abuja for him to be sworn in as the incoming president. They say they don't want a president who is not even popular among them.
We simply want the court to acknowledge that the residents of Abuja have a right to either approve or reject of whoever will be president of the country and who in that capacity will be like their governor, the one that regulates their daily lives, that approve of him, show that he has a level of acceptability amongst them. With at least 25% of their votes, and therefore that any candidate at all who has not obtained that 25% of votes in Abuja ought not to be declared president-elect.
Let's talk about Ayo.
Well, hello, Rufai, and nice suit and tie and pocket square, since you started off throwing us off that way. But let's get to the news. A lot of things to talk about, as you've mentioned. We've seen very important event going on in Abuja with regards to the induction of particularly incoming governors, whether they're first-timers or who have been re-elected. I must give kudos to the planning committee because the selection of speakers, as expected, is quite excellent. So amidst the speakers that have spoken in the course of the induction, and by the way, even former governors have come to share, their own experience, and they're speaking to the governors based on very particular areas. So you saw the Director General of the World Trade Organization and a former Minister of Finance and the Economy, Madam Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, speak to the governors there, and a number of salient points which I'd like to focus on this morning. She gave a talk on the task of nation building, and she gave quite a dire or gory figure of what's going on with the economy at the moment. It's no surprise because we have talked about this a number of times. What she had talked about and charged the governors to do was to ensure that they were able to come up with policies to show up revenue and to avoid borrowing, further borrowing, so that they are not steeped into further debt and further increasing the debt to GDP ratio or debt to revenue ratio. She talks about this, giving statistics and giving facts, especially from her experiences, and absolutely correct. We've said it in terms of what the governors and perhaps even the president-elect has to face come May 29 or post their inauguration on May 29, whereby they have to find creative ways to increase revenue in their individual states. In the past, what we have seen is where we see governors who get into the office and all they are depending on is federal allocation. And during campaign seasons, we hear promises upon promises as to how these governors or these individuals plan to make their states more prosperous. Unfortunately, what we have at the end of a tenure is either more borrowing, more cases of looting, and the people in that state are worse off. I'm hoping that this is not just an exercise in futility, because these induction cycles happen before a tenure. I hope that the governors went there not just as a tick box, but to listen to the experiences and expertise of the speakers who had come there, in the past few days, and go away with an action plan alongside their team to map out the way forward for their state. What was very instructive was that she also spoke about the power of young people. She said that looking at the Nigerian situation, we have half of the population being under 18. And she cited examples of other countries who have been able to maximize their youth population for their own good. The population of Nigeria is one of our biggest strengths, where other countries around the world are looking to have such a makeup. We have countries who have an aging population, countries who have people who have more older citizens as a population. But in Nigeria, we are blessed with the power of the youth, and we saw that play out during the elections. What she enjoined the governors to do is to not belie the trust that the youth have put in them by casting their votes in the last election. I'm sure a lot of governors will be able to testify that it was not an easy race as it would have been in the past to getting that ticket to represent or to governing the people. Therefore, the best reward for that election or for that ticket is to ensure that they are able to give the people of their state the best in life. So, what would this look like? Can the governors have a more inclusive cabinet? She touched on the kind of people that should make up their team. Can we have more youth representation? Can we have more women representation? And not tokenistic positions, but positions that would take the best brains, not just nepotism, but the best brains for the best actions in our individual states. Because whenever we talk about Nigeria and the issues belaboring us, we often focus on the center, forgetting that this is a federal country. Therefore, both at federal level, state level, and local government level, if there are failures at these different tiers of government, this country cannot stand. Therefore, perhaps we should begin to put a lot more focus on the governors, what they're doing with their cabinet, what they're doing with their budget, and how they're improving the lives of their citizens. I believe very strongly that the next tenure for all governors across the 36 states would not be business as usual. We have demonstrated that during the polls, and the people are watching to hold their governors to account. Now, moving on to the second story with regards to the suit before the Abuja court in terms of the citizens or the residents of Abuja wondering if they have special status to determine who becomes president. It still goes along the line of the conversation around this 25% and the fact that the president-elect Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu failed to get 25% majority in Abuja, even though he got it in the requisite state as stipulated in the constitution. The suit has been moved, has been adjourned till next week, and we cannot speak in detail about it because it will be so prejudiced, but it will be important to see how the court will rule, because this has been a conversation that has been going on for a while. Does Abuja, as the federal capital territory, have special status? The arguments are valid. They don't have a direct governor. They didn't vote for a governor. So whoever is president ought to, in effect, manage that particular city. So next week we get to find out what the outcome would be, and of course, consequently, if inauguration 2023 will go ahead on 29th of May 2023.
Dr. Batu?
The matter, the five persons of Abuja, Federal Capital Territory residents, are taken before the Federal High Court, the Court of Justice Inyang Ekwa, which has now been adjourned till May 18. Well, we cannot comment on the details because that would be subjudicial. However, the thing to note is that the court says that on May 18, the first thing to determine is whether or not the persons who have filed a matter, whether they have local standing to do so. Prayers they are asking for, they are saying that the inauguration on May 29 should not take place because it is important that 25% must be scored by whoever is declared president. Well, persons who push that argument, and those five residents of the Federal Capital Territory are not alone. They rely on Buhari versus Obasanjo. I think that's the case in which, that matter was majorly addressed. But there have been other subsequent decisions with provisos that have been offered. I don't want to go into the details. And, where there is a conflict in terms of interpretation, what the court will do will be to look for what is most reasonable and equity, and ensure thereby justice. is called the contra-preferential rule in the canons of interpretation. And this is what is at issue here. The second thing, of course, beyond the third thing, beyond local standing and, the contra-preferential rule, would seem to be the fact that this same issue that these 5 residents are pursuing in the Federal High Court of Abuja is the substance, part of the substance of the petitions that have been filed principally by the Labour Party and the People's Democratic Party at the Presidential Election Tribunal. So can the same matter be had, a matter that is before tribunal, also be had at the Federal High Court level? So that again raises the question of jurisdiction. But on May 18, we'll see what the court will decide. It's not for us here to go into the substance of the matter. As for the induction for the governors that took place in Abuja yesterday, well, a 2-day event, where the very idea of the induction itself, well, I think in principle, it makes sense. People are going to be governors interacting with, persons who have been governors and persons who are sitting governors, who seem to be a good idea. It provides a forum for interaction. It's a reminder also of the importance of the assignment that is, before them when they assume office eventually. And it's good that experts, experienced persons from all over the world were invited to talk to these incoming and second-term governors in terms of their responsibilities. But the main story that we are focused on has been the speech by the president at that occasion. And the president said, well, the electorate showed a lot of maturity in the recently concluded general elections in Nigeria, and that his administration has laid a strong foundation for a prosperous Nigeria upon which, incoming governors can build. Well, we don't expect the president not to praise himself. Everybody is allowed to have agamalis at their moments. And part of the points made in that speech by the president is that his administration has done a lot in the area of agriculture, increasing domestic production despite COVID-19 and providing opportunities within the agricultural sector, and also encouraging more food exports from Nigeria. But the question that many will ask is that why the president made that point about achievements in agriculture. How about food inflation in Nigeria? Food inflation in Nigeria is already over 20%. And many Nigerians can't even have basic, access to many food items. Well, the president did not talk about food inflation. But many persons who are having challenges being able to feed themselves will say that food inflation seems to be, part of the legacy of the outgoing administration. The president talked about empowering the armed forces, making the armed forces, strengthening the armed forces, providing modern warfare equipment and all that. Well, there's no doubt. There's been very significant achievement in that regard. Our armed forces have so far acquitted, themselves in a very honorable manner. We cannot argue with that. The president has also talked about infrastructure. Well, infrastructural provision is not, something that one administration can complete. It's a continuous process. And in that regard, the president was charging the incoming administration to do more. Well, in any case, the office of the president already provided, an 80-something page outline of the achievements of the administration. And there is a lot, that we can interrogate in that regard. But it is the people of Nigeria that will eventually, give a proper accounting of what their experience has been under the Buhari administration. However, I do agree with the president that the subnationals have an important role to play. Oftentimes, in analyzing the Nigerian situation, we tend to focus more on the federal government. And one strong point that was made by the president in that presentation is about the role of the subnationals, the governors, who should not just see the positions they're coming to occupy as a privilege, but as a position of responsibility. And the president reminded them that our democracy is maturing and that whoever does not do well will be voted out the next election. So these are very important points, as I see it, He also talked about partnerships among the states, how states can partner together, learn from each other, leverage on their comparative advantages, and then place Nigeria first, the national interest, which is oftentimes overlooked. The points made by Governor Tambuwa, chairman of the Governors Forum, by Okonjo-Iweala, by Tony Elumelu, by other speakers at that event are important. But it remains to be seen how these governors will fare in 4 years to come. Every governor will come back to us and say, oh, we have done very well. There is the people that will take a decision that will give a proper assessment. So self-praise, yes, may be a natural thing to do, but the taste of the pudding, as they say, is in the eating. And we hope that these incoming governors would act in a responsible and accountable manner, and as they have been advised by the outgoing president, place Nigeria first.
You see, like I always say, every generation have the time and the chance to change the course of its destiny. The problem with Nigeria today is because this generation of leaders have just decided to put Nigeria down. Why do we talk about the likes of the Awolowo today? Because in their time, they changed the course of Nigeria's destiny. As somebody from Ogun State, I still drive on the roads that were built by Awolowo. If I want to drive from Ikene to my village via the old road. But you see, we have a bunch of leaders that don't think of the future. They just think what to eat now. And it destroys their country. That's why you see they are forgotten. I'm happy about the governors' meeting yesterday. But the question is, do these governors even hear the things they tell them, or it enters one ear and goes out with the other? These are the same governors, and some of those governors were there. These are the same governors that want to claim big fat pension bonuses. But their states are in debt of trillions of naira. They plunge their states in debt. And how do they do this? The first way governors do is they do big white elephant projects. They take loans that they will benchmark against their federal government allocation for the next 30, 20 years. They say they are building airports. They say they are building all sorts of infrastructure. I'm not saying infrastructure is not good, but you don't build what you don't have the wherewithal to build. I keep stating that Delta State has 2 airports today because when Warri was ripe enough for that infrastructural development, Shell had a hand in building the airport in Osubi. But you see, to a large extent, they do the white elephant project, fritter away the Commonwealth, and they put the state in debt. And that's what Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala was saying yesterday. Now look at the situation of Nigeria. Most of the governors are owed a lot of debt, and they keep owing this debt because they misplaced the priority. It's either the governors are attending to their political godfathers, frittering away our resource, or wasting our wealth in general. She talked about the fact that we have a young population. We can use this young population for development. But what do? The politicians use them for political divisiveness during elections. Look at our economy as we speak today. Do you know that Nigeria today, I saw a report in this day that is saying that our budget deficit will increase because we're not beginning to meet our quota of production of crude oil. So there's a lot of lapses, but the governors keep incurring a lot of debts. President Muhammadu Buhari will praise himself about the election, but can we all truly beat our chest that these elections were an indication that we're maturing? Look at the public disgrace again that we got in the hands of the BBC, revealing how manipulated Rivers' election was. Foreign media beginning to show a show of shame to the public. And this is us that we're supposed to lead the way. Foreign media show our election result sheet how they were mutilated. But because people want political preservation, they do all sorts and they fool themselves and fool Nigeria. So is that a reflection of how maturing we are? The people that we give true praise to are the Nigerians that came out to vote on election day, which have held the line and have done well for their country. But with the organization of the election, can we say it met the aspirations of Nigerians? The court will decide that. So like I said before, the governors have been told all the things they know already, but with their own personal interest, allow them do what is right. And that's the big bone of contention. It's not that they don't read the papers to know that the economy is in dire straits, that Nigeria as we speak today is broke. That Olusegun Obasanjo met a debt of 28 billion, he reduced it for over 2 billion, and President Muhammadu Buhari met a debt of 7 billion, he increased it to 41 billion. If you are to share the debt of over 41 billion amongst 200 million Nigerians, each Nigerians that do not even have access to that don't have access to $1 per day, have a debt of over 380,000 naira for them on their neck as we speak today. But when Olusegun Obasanjo came in, the debt was like 17,000 naira per Nigerian. So these are the things that we all know and we talk about every single day. Only yesterday, inflation has risen up to 22%. And when we say we made giant stride in agriculture, but food inflation is on the increase and farmers can't take their goods out, then what's the way forward? So the governors know all they have been told. The question is, will they bring down their garb of personal interest and enriching themselves and truly work for the Nigerian people? Dear governors, it is best you leave a legacy and be financially broke in your account after leaving office than you are very rich but you leave Nigeria worse than the way it is. I know people around you would tell you that being a governor means you should be rich when you leave office. But please think that no matter how much you steal, you will leave all that money on earth and go one day. And what will live after you will be your legacy. Concerning the court case, people have talked at not so much that let the court decide as regards the 25% issue, which is also in the election.
You are in court today, Prof, to hear the matter of the FCT indigents versus the Attorney General of the Federation. What do you have to tell the public that transpired in court today?
Very importantly, the case was called for mention today, and I think his learned judge was very, very dispassionate in asking for our lawyers to prepare an address on jurisdiction, prepare an address on why they want him to give rulings regarding the demands. And I think a short adjournment is good. What is important is that we all agree that we must have a president who wins as provided by the Constitution, not a president who wins by subterfuge, by deceit, not a president select, but a president elect. And that's why we're here, and our lawyer has spoken to the court about why it's important, and I think that the court understands the importance and the urgency of it. So we're going to be back here on the 18th. But very importantly, for everyone who's listening to us, we're insisting that Section 134 and Section 135 of the Constitution should be given proper interpretation, and the rights of those who live in Abuja, the rights of those who are voters in Abuja must be taken into consideration before you swear in any president.
The judge asked your lawyers or the lawyers of the indigents of Abuja that they have to address three things: the issue of local standing, jurisdiction, and to ensure that the case is probably not already at the presidential, tribunal. So, do you think it's a way of the court trying to meander and run away from the issue at hand?
No, I do not think so. Our lawyer did eruditely state that very importantly he's addressing the court on points of law, and you will never have too much to chew on points of law. What is before the Presidential Elections Petition Tribunal are general issues as to the election and the conduct of the election. What we have here is a very particular case, a particular matter that goes to the rights of those who live in Abuja, who have the rights to vote in Abuja, and what our lawyers are doing is simply seeking that court gives vent and life to their rights, to ensuring that 25% of their vote is won by anybody who becomes the president of Nigeria, as stipulated and provided by the Constitution.
aside this case, I hear that there is also a mass call for action and protest in Abuja on the 17th. Are you aware of the protests in and around Abuja planned for the 17th?
That's to coincide with the next court date at the presidential election petition tribunal. And I think it's profound. You know, I've said time and again, and I want to repeat for the opportune time, that there are two courts in the universe: the court of public opinion and the court of law. The court of law is going to work based on the rules set by INEC and the Constitution. The court of public opinion divorced from the Almighty, from the creator of the universe, and that's why you have the maxim, Vox Populi, Vox Dei. So the masses of our people, obedient, and all those who feel aggrieved by the electoral larceny of the 25th of February are coming out to say, we agree that what INEC did was wrong, and that's why we're out. So it's congruent with the desire to walk in line with the court of public opinion, and protest is part of democracy. And so I support the movement. If I'm around, I will be part of the movement. And what is very important is for the Nigerian people to understand that nobody can ride your back except it is bent. And Nigerians are saying that never ever again are we going to allow politicians, mark my use of word, politicians ride our back. So I'm all for the protest. I'm all for the march of the 17th of May.
And you believe that the tribunal will do justice to what is being demanded of them?
Absolutely. They have no reason not to. My mentor Mahatma Gandhi once said that it comes to a point in the life of a people and a nation where even the devil understands that justice must be done. And whatever it is, we have a case that is watertight, and we know that the learned judges and the learned justices will do what is proper, right, and right, and give judgment in favor of the masses of our people who voted for a candidate other than the one that was declared president by INEC. They have no reason not to. My mentor Mahatma Gandhi once said that it comes to a point in the life of a people and a nation where even the devil understands that justice must be done. And whatever it is, we have a case that is watertight, and we know that the learned judges and the learned justices will do what is proper, right, and right, and give judgment in favor of the masses of our people who voted for a candidate other than the one that was declared president by INEC.
So guys, the desperation of the APC to retain power is what is taking them this far. APC understands the Constitution of Nigeria, that whosoever is going to emerge as the president of Nigeria must win Abuja. I mean, have the 25% for Abuja. But you know, these people are now saying that it does not matter, it does not count, because they want Bola Ahmed Tinubu to be sworn in. They want to retain power after this massive failure. As in, we all know that APC has failed, but you know, they want to stay in power. But I tell you, it will be difficult for them. It will be difficult. But I tell you, this is a hard time for them to achieve their goal. Honestly, it's going to be very hard for them. So guys, you have seen it for yourself. Honestly, the Nigerian people are determined, you know, to ensure that things are done properly. You know, these are politicians. They don't even think twice. They don't think on the implication of whatever they are doing. All they understand is, you know, what is at the center of their hearts. I mean, their selfish behavior and their selfish character. All they want is what pleases them, what suits them. Look at the APC now. The talk of the town is who becomes the Senate president, who embezzles most of the money. That is what they are just channeling their attention to. So guys, they don't care. Look at the inflation rates going up. Look at the insecurity. The people in Kaduna are being killed. These our senators can never go to visit southern Kaduna. Buhari has never. Fellow Nigerians, it pains one's heart looking at what is happening in Nigeria and see the gross incompetence, you know, being displayed by the political class. The political class, look at them in the Senate. They are just after who becomes the speaker, who becomes the Senate president, who becomes the deputy. These are the things that bother them. These are the things that they go home to think about, not how the ordinary Nigerian feels on the street. No. So guys, you can see it for yourself that honestly the Nigerian people want a change, and they can't wait to have that change. And we are looking forward to, you know, the judiciary doing the needful. The election tribunal is tomorrow. Please, let's turn up to ensure that, you know, we give our maximum support to Peter Obi and the Labour Party. Please don't forget to subscribe to my channel, turn on the notification bell. Please give this video a like so that YouTube can recommend it to others, and let me know what you think in the comment section below. Thank you.